G'day and welcome. A week or two ago I did a video on pulling these 4300 Motorcrafts apart. They're both 600 CFM, they're both D3FF numbers, they're both identical in every casting way. The one on the left, the dirty one at the top there, that is off an F250, 351 truck that was used as a horse carrier. That's my wife's auntie's one, and that's the one that I thought was branded or not branded, so I thought it was an Autolite. They're both branded Motorcraft. And I pulled them apart because even the one at the bottom, which looks particularly clean, that was given to me. Because sometimes when you buy new bits of kit, they look new on the outside, of course they're not. It was stored in a friend's garage for a while, but we did know the history before that. Here's a thermoquad that I bought off eBay for $150, $155 I think it was. I bought it on the premise that it looked absolutely brilliant, but inside it was a mess. The thing had been media blasted and then dunked in a parts wash before it was advertised. So the internals, you can see the metering rods there are very, very stiff. The internals were absolutely shanked. And so it was all hydroblasted and all this sort of stuff to clean it up. That, I think, was the same or different carburetor. I can't remember, but the one that looked particularly clean was dirtier than that. That's a different one now, I'm sure it is. And so you can see, once you get moisture in them, they turn to white powder, everything corrodes. Inside the accelerator pump there, which is difficult on a thermoquad because it's in its own chamber and has a very small spigot for the fuel transfer to the discharge nozzles, they get very, very, it's very easy to break that stuff. So that was the reason I pulled it all apart, or pulled both of them all apart. Of course, everything was hydroblasted, and of course, it was plated as well. The plating stuff wasn't that great, the quality of it. Here we go, look at the powder coming out of that. But we did get there in the end. So we've got two identical carburetors. One's for me, one's for a friend. So here's the video, and I hope you enjoy. You'll see some of this stuff is very good and some of it's dull-ish. That's a very good bit. Some of them looked a bit dull. That would have been because that was on the top and the other one would have been mounted sort of underneath the carby, holding the throttle body on. Same with the mixture screws, they're all lovely, except one looks a bit dull. That might not be mixture, that might be one of the idles or something like that. The linkages all look good, the choke cable bits or the choke housing bits I should say. The mixture screw, I saw a mixture screw somewhere, there's one there, there was a free one. What the heck did I do with it? Oh, there it is. And that looked lovely, particularly the important part around here is perfect. So we'll untile this stuff and stick it in a box, and then we can start putting the thing together. Okay, so here are our carburetor parts, the housings. Now these are an identical pair of carburetors. They've both got the same numbers on them, which I always get lost. Here we go, D3FFLA. D is 1970s, 3 is the third year, 1973. F is foreign sales or Trans Am racing apparently, and F is general parts. So D3FF. Now I know this one, this was the cleaner of the two, this was the really mucky one, but the mucky one's cleaned up better. This one's still got some snot in there, I think he missed. That was the one that looked like it had already been rebuilt. This is the one that I had previously, which I thought was Autolite, but it's still marked Motorcraft. This was off a 1976 F250. It was a 351 Cleveland manual transmission. So I'm tipping that's off something similar, or if they're all numbered like that, maybe a P5 LTD or something like that. It's off a 351 Cleveland engine because it's a local carburetor. They're all marked with identical markings. Motorcraft. You can see that they're both. That's really bad. You can see they're Motorcraft, they've got an 8 on them, they've got a little clock thing with an A in it, all that sort of stuff. This one has been messed around with less, even though it's been rebuilt, it's still got their bit there where this one's missing. Now this is perfect for a matched set of carburetors. I mean, if you had two dual quads or something, this would be perfect for it if you want to look period correct. I don't need two, I need one. And I don't probably even need one because I need to put a 4-barrel on the XW. It's still a 2-barrel. I haven't got around to changing that. I do have a Holley 600, but I'd like to have the choice. So I'm going to keep one, and I'm going to send one off to a friend. So basically I'm just going to clean up this area, and I'll start putting it back together. I've got the throttle shaft here. I've riveted those two. They're stainless rivets, they were hellish. The throttle body, I've put in the secondaries. There's a bit of thread protruding through. None of these were peened over, none of these bolts. They're those little fasteners. The other one, some of them bent, some of them looked awful, and I wasn't going to put them back in. The heads were knackered on them, like this one, and sometimes the threads looked a bit damaged as well. I've actually drilled these and tapped them with 3mm metric and center punched the back of them. This is the other carby. This is the one I'm retaining. I would sooner do that on one I'm retaining than one I'm sending away, given that I'm not a carburetor specialist. So we're going to now just drop a bit of oil on here. Now, if the guy wants, oh, there's this sleeve here as well, and there's a spring. Which way does the spring go? I think the spring goes underneath that way. Let's have a looky and see if we're right. The throttle shafts on this are in great condition. That spring is going to go under and into here, into that slot there. And it's going to catch, where's it catching? It's got to catch around, hang on, let me just think about this. That's got to go that way. It's going to be easy if I set this up down here. That's where the spring goes there. Then we stick it under there. And then that bit there. Nope, that's wrong. Do I know what I'm doing? Well, kind of. There we go. No, that's wrong. There we go. Right. So that's where it catches, under there, and then in that little notch there. And that will make it spring loaded. The plates, the throttle plates, open. You've got to be careful with these too, because they'll drop into position very easily one way, but not the other, and you can't push them. So I marked these, if you remember, left and right, and we've got to line those threads up. Now, these OE fasteners are a pain in the neck, but because this is effectively not mine, then I have to be very careful. I'd sooner just use the OE ones that came out in a very easy fashion. They're a weird thread. I don't know what the thread is. It's some sort of coarse thread, but again, I wouldn't have a clue what that thread is. I've just substituted mine with metric, which is wrong for the car, but I've got to line that up a bit better. I'm just going to look through the light to make sure they are closing properly. So I'm just holding them up to the light, and that looks fairly good. And so in order to sort of affect that, I'm just going to just snug each one down one at a time, just a little bit, to check them. I reckon that's as good as it's going to get. Check again. I think that's all right. Now we can tighten them up. And we'll just join up the secondary. If we can remember how to get that around, here we go. Like that, and there's a clip. This might not be the right clip, but it is a clip. This is a thermoquad clip, because this was half of this stuff was missing.
And that should work. So with the protruded bits of thread, we can just get our pliers, and we're the ones we can grab, give them a burr and a squeeze, and they will not come out. Another thing you can do is you can stick them on a block of wood, put a suitably sized socket underneath, and make sure you're contacting the area, and just give it a bit of a peen. Perfect. Right, so that being done, there's a couple of things. Mixture screws, of course, we're just going to sit them in here. These would get tightened or seated down and backed out 1.5 turns. But that, of course, is a thing for the new owner to sort out when he gets it. Now, we've got this rod here, which goes in the choke. And that rod sits under the grub screw and rotates like that. Right. Turning him up on end. Hang on a second, I'm going to squirt a bit of oil in there. There's a choke piston. Whoopsie. My hands are a bit dirty, aren't they? That's not very professional. But anyway, this choke piston sits down that barrel in there. It's easiest to stick it on that way, let him drop in. So he fucking will drop in. There we go. That feels a bit stiff to me. Hang on. Oh, she's good. And then that little lock will go in there like that. There's a screw in there. Where's the screw gone? There it is. It's a little flathead screw with one of those weird UNC threads. So we're just going to put that in and screw him home. Now this thing has that much movement. So the gasket, this is a second-hand gasket because we're scunging out. We're not putting a new one on. There we go. And we've got to make sure the coil sits over the split in the gasket, and then we just turn him back, and that will mean the choke's active. It's a stepped ring that goes over like that with some screws, and that makes us a happy boy. Oh dear, oh dear. Why are you watching this, by the way? Are you bored? Okie dokie. And again, the choke will need to be set up according to what the owner specifies. There's a little pointer on it somewhere. Where the hell is it? There it is there. But that just doesn't quite feel as free as I'd like it to feel. Right, that's the little choke. There's a return here. How the heck does that go? That goes under there and has a thing on it. There we go. It just sort of fits under there like that. And that's got a screw, a little hex screw. And the hex screw has a sort of a serration in it, if you know what I mean, and that will stop it from coming loose. Where is this? So you don't need to put Loctite on that. I will put Loctite on the nut for the secondary one. The secondary's got a stay sort of thing as well. And as you turn this in, this is actually quite tight. Like there's a fair bit of resistance on it. Right, and that's for your fast idle screw. There's one on the secondary as well. This is just a stay to stop it over opening, I suppose. It just sort of sits in like that. There's a little bit of Loctite to go on the thread. Like that. And it's got a nut that just fits over, which is this guy that goes that way. And we get the appropriate socket, which I think is 3/8. Is that 3/8? Right. I they're opening well. Right, so that is the throttle plate pretty much done. All of that's tight. Are we ready to move on to the next bit? Yep, all good. Gasket time. These are old ones, but they're like new, so I don't see the point in changing them. They're only going one way. We've got two larger bosses there, and if you try and turn around the other way, nothing's going to fit. So you know they go that way. There. Good idea to just pick the thing up and locate the bottom one first. Oopsie, hang on, where do these go? Like that. And it should just drop into place. Have a quick visual. It all looks pretty darn dandy. So, stick a couple of screws in. Just to snug it down. Whoops. And there's 6 of them in total. I'm putting the duller of the ones. Some of these didn't turn out that well. It's like they're a little bit dull. But as I said, they would have been the top ones initially, I would think. So I'm just going to pop them in the bottom here. And that should be good. And as soon as we've done this, we just check everything we've done to make sure carby butterflies are opening or throttle plates are opening, all that sort of stuff. So just like a cylinder head, I always start from the inside, give them a nip up, and then in a crisscross way, just to make sure everything's cool. And of course, I've only just put the body of the carburetor on, but we just want to make sure that's all still operating properly. And that's all good. Right, so I've got our little body all doing what it's supposed to do. Couple of things. We've got a ball, a large ball, which goes down in there. It's kept in with this spiral spring. So I'm going to turn that in. Oh, it wants to flick up, but never mind, we'll get him in place. There we go. And you can see it down the bottom of the accelerator pump. Won't come out. Can't come out. That's good. The jets. This is jetted for a 351. So I don't know what he's going to do with this. Whether he will want to rejet it. There are a few things it will need, and I'm not going to do it because, as I said, I don't know what he's up to as far as his engine's concerned. These things were available in, there's 3 different types. There's a 441 CFM, whoops, I can't get that in, which is an earlier one. Then there was a 600. I think the 441 finished about 1960, I'm going to say 8 or 9. This is a 600, 1973 model, and then they also had a 715 CFM, which was a spread bore. Now these things, the earlier 441 CFM one was too lean for 390 big blocks. These are used on 390s, 429s, 460s, 351s. Now this is a power valve, and look, I would change it. The spring's pretty weak. I wonder if I can strengthen that spring. Is it worth stretching it? Where's my other glasses? Let's have a look at the power valve. The stem on it, I noticed, was broken. Not broken, it was bent. Let me see if I can straighten this out, or at least give it more oomph as springs go. The spring has lost its tension a bit, so it'll need, and you can see it's got a bend in it. I would put a power valve in it. I really would. Now, again, this is going to be a good cleaned up core for gaskets if he wants, or, you know, a few other bits and pieces if he wants to do that. I've kept the better power valve of the two, and the reason for that is because I'm not rebuilding mine, I'm putting it straight on the car. I will change out the accelerator spring or the accelerator plunger D-pad because they're a little bit slack. Okay, there's a little valve that goes in that hole there. There's a small ball which is for your little squirters. This one here, and that sits in that hole there. Hopefully we don't drop anything. We've also got the accelerator plunger, which is cock in a sock, but what do you do? And that will, that just pushes off. And has it got the plug for it? This one doesn't have the plug. Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass. That's not going to work. If the plug was there, I could just put that cable tie through, but it doesn't matter. We'll stick it through anyway. There's also a damper for the secondary doors, which has to go in. That's this thing here. We want to make sure that's nice and free, which it is, and get the top. Right, the top. These things seem to screw in from the bottom. We have a linkage which attaches to one of them, which is that one. Hang on a minute. You've got to kind of plop it down in there and line up the holes like that. Okay, these are a coarse thread, Phillips head. We're going to get ourselves some rather lovely Loctite. Again, we don't want these things dropping in. That would be a really crappy day at the office. Hey Rosa.
What's up?
Just doing some filming.
Yeah. I'm just cleaning Monroe's cage. Just letting it dry.
Hang on. Alright, these things, it's important. There's a guinea pig next to me. He doesn't like how I'm doing this. Right, okie dokie. Now, part of that power valve thing is here. Let's pop this out. That will just sit in there. I'm just going to burr that. Again, this is another component that might be elected to change if I can find my bloody punch. Where? Oh, there it is. That'll sit there. Okay. Needle and seat with a fibre washer. Nice guinea pig. Wonder what he's saying. Put me down. You're too hot. Or, where's he?
Upwards.
Camera's on. Or put me down. You smell.
Or
give me
this
food.
person isn't doing this job right.
Or this person should not be messing with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe he's hungry. That's why babies cry.
Probably.
When
He's
they're
also
tired or
awake.
hungry.
I think he was sleeping before, so he's kind of like awake.
Oh, okay. What? Did you say bless you to a guinea pig?
Yes. He sneezed.
Did he?
I think he did. Yeah. Joke's on you. No one can hear you.
He's probably saying get stuffed.
I mean, probably, but I'm taking it.
And we'll put that little guy in. Right. Now, the floaties on these things are very, very easy to break. There's an issue with them in that when you bend them, they snap. People try and bend them with the float, you can't do that. Although this one looks a little bit on the munted side. I don't know that that float's too good actually.
Yeah?
I would put a float in it.
Hold on.
I would definitely put new floats in this. So it'll need a few parts, but it's a good basis for an excellent build.
He likes my dressing gown
Oh yeah.
because it's like fluffy. So he probably doesn't like my jacket.
When you check the float level here, the default setting would be 13/16, 20 mil, 21 mil. I can't see with this thing, but that's probably around about right there. I would be inclined to pop a float in it. I don't like that. It looks a bit flaky. Right, so all that's in. We need a gasket. Again, second hand of course. And we've got the large hole there which coincides with that one there. So those two will go into there. What the hell is it with that guinea pig? Right, that looks like it's ready to go in. This one has the door there for the linkage too. The other one doesn't have that. But I'm going to leave it because I think it's probably best to leave it where it is. So we're going to check this out. We've got the ball there, we've got a little valve there, we've got the accelerator pump there, power valves in, jets are in. Second part of the power valves there. The floats are yuck. We're going to need new floats for that. And that's a damper for the secondary door, so I'm just going to poke that through the lid and stick the whole thing in, eh? I'll just hold that. Oops, did he go somewhere uncomfortable, did he?
No.
Looks like he might have. Okay. There it is. Good. So that should just plop on. Straight. What's going on now? Accelerator pump. There it is. Right. That should just glide in. Yep. That's cool. Now the other carburetor is missing the longer bolt. On this one it's slotted. That goes in there. The rest of them just go in every other hole. So we're going to put this little set of linkages in. I haven't got any pins, so I need to buy some for the other one too. And that goes like that, which goes in here. And then that sits over there and then gets shoved through there. I'm just going to put a pin in temporarily because that's all I've got. Oh yeah, there it is. There we go. Okay, this one was the better of the two. This is the one I didn't take the screw out of. It's a Commodore. Let's put a bit of wheel around it. Hence why I didn't get that plated, that bit there. I've got to say, I'm not wrapped with the quality of the plating in this one. It could be better. I've had better before. That's what I said to my friends when I met my wife. Don't tell your mum I said that. Anyway.
That's probably what Mum said too.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. Which way does this go? Like that, maybe? Let's have a look and see if it fits. Get on there, you son of a gun. Right. Alright, just a minute. There we go. Just got to get that nice and central for the choke. And use these funny little hexy guys with Loctite. So let's do that right now. Oh, come on, Loctite, get out of there.
Oh.
Where's the other? Oh, there it is. What's he talking about now?
I don't know.
I mean, have you said to him, if you don't stop talking, you get a detention?
No.
Maybe you should run it by him and just say, look, that's just inappropriate conversation.
I know. I mean, I told him that I'll feed him to Ivy, but you know.
Oh, don't you? What did he do? Oh, goody. Where do I start? Okay, we're getting another one of these guys.
Okay, I'm gonna check on my cage.
What, you actually live in a cage?
Yeah.
Sweet.
With Monroe.
That'll do it. It's starting to look a bit more like a carby. Now to get this socket on, this is a 3/16 I think? Yeah, 3/16. I just have to taper it and then grind the top so it would get onto the nut. Right. Okay, so we're going to have to stick some choky linkages on. Now I might have to buy some stuff for this because I haven't got some of the things I need because I didn't have them. It had, for the accelerator pump, it had this weird piece of, well, that's a clip that goes on there, so that's cool. I don't mind that. Yes, that's cool. It's this one for the accelerator pump. It's got a hole. And the guy had a spring through it. And these ones don't seem to stay in, they're worn. So, that goes down here. There's a key in the thing, but if you get it off key, see it just falls out. So we might have to try and hold it in some other way. That's for the accelerator pump, which is this guy. And that goes into the pin. But again, the pin's pretty well knackered, so we can only do what we can do, hey? I will put it in though. But they normally separate at the end. There was one alright one, but that's the accelerator pump. So we might have to try and find another one of those. And then that linkage of course comes up through there. And there's a hole in it, but it's going to pop off, that bottom thing. So these choke ones, these go around the other side. So that goes through that hole. This is not going to be easy, it's going to be a right bastard to get in. Maybe if I go in through the other way, like that, sort of feed the thing around, kind of like that. Bit of a prick, you know, and that goes there, and then goes into one of these guys here, which is right there. So that's fairly simple. I've just got to wind the choke up to get that on, and get a clip behind it, which is not going to be much fun. Yeah, that gets it. Okay, so that's how that works. That's easy enough. Then the auto choke will pull that off. Let's see, I haven't got the choke on very high, but at the end of the day, that's how it goes. So now comes the task of getting that clip there, which I might have some thermoquad ones. Here are two carburetors. This is the one I'm sending away, this is the one I'm keeping. The secondary things, the choke, you can see there, the choke's wound on. This one's, I've got to get a clip for it. I could try one of those, I might have a, hang on a minute, I've got a thermoquad one, I forgot about that. Put this on. I've scratched that putting it in because I squashed that what do you call it? That channel of this that the butterfly goes into. I squashed it in a device of a lathe, and consequently it closed up a bit. So when I put the thing in, I scratched it all. But it doesn't matter. Let me just battle this thing just a moment. All right, take two. We've got our little chokes working. This one's working. Hey. The secondary flaps. These are, it's weird. I should really hang on to both of them, but I'm not going to because they're an absolutely identical pair. They're the same date, same markings, same application, DFFF, all that sort of stuff. I've made two carburetors, which both need bits and pieces doing to them. When I'm ready for the XW, I'll try the Holley, and I'll try this. I'll get an accelerator pump for this, and I'll get floats as well. The floats in both of them are like that. This one here, which is going away, that will need a new float. This one, I can probably fudge it. It'll probably be alright. I did forget to electroplate this on this one, whereas this one I did, but that was just an oversight. You can see there. And there's just little bits and pieces like that. This has got a decent power valve. That's got a trashy one. So when this goes to Andy, he's going to need to buy a float and a power valve for it. He won't have to get anything cleaned. Float, power valve. He could probably even reuse the gaskets. It's up to him what he does. I haven't spoken to him about it, so I've no idea. But I'll keep this one because I did forget to do that. And, you know, I've scratched that and... You know, I've put the better of the fittings on this one, basically. But I think also this is missing its little door, its little thing there, where this one has it. So he can have that one. I'll keep this one. And I'll try that or the Holley on the XW and just see where it gets us. They're both, yeah, 600 CFM. They're good. They're good to go. So, that's got the OE screws in it. I've given them a bit of a smack and put Loctite on them. This one I had to re-tap, and I put metric ones similar to computer screws in there. So that's it for this one. I've got this carburetor finished. I've just got a bag. I'll stick it in a bag and all this sort of stuff. Strapped it down to a nice thick piece, and it's got to have the linkage put on. And I've just that was the one for the accelerator pump. So that'll go in a nice big bag, and it'll get sent off with lots of packing and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, this can be all stuck into a nice bag. It's going to need a few parts, and therefore it will be hunky-dory. There we go. That's fine. Excellent. Anyway, whatever the case, take good care of yourselves, enjoy Classic, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Shit.